What up, YouTube? Welcome to a video that's kind of been marinating in my brain for a couple of days. I'm sure if some of y'all have watched Vangelina Skov's video recently about Team Piñata drama, you are aware that some accusations have come forth. I'm going to be really careful about how I word everything in this video so that any triggers are taken care of, and so that I maintain as completely an unbiased opinion as possible. That being said, there are certain behaviors that I definitely do not condone. I don't think that they are appropriate, and I think that legal action could or should be taken depending on the severity of the situation. Now, what I want to do today is I want to talk about some of the background of Team Piñata. Now, I remember actually at one point being a Team Piñata fan, and I first started watching their videos when it came about that they were dating then Chloe. So I stumbled upon Chloe's channel, and I became, she had a video, I think it went pretty viral, where she switched nine times in the video or something. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I've never heard of this disorder. I'm gonna go check this girl out. And then suddenly I'm down this whole rabbit hole. But eventually, there was a relationship that came out between her and Team Piñata. I shouldn't say her because, well, I mean, pronouns are her, but it depends on who's out. But between them and Team Piñata, and I thought, oh, like, that's really sweet. And then I began to learn a little bit more about Team Piñata, and shortly after that, Kyle, one of Chloe's alters, was dating, I think it was Jeremy. Yeah, Jeremy. So he was dating Jeremy. So there's several relationships that were happening throughout the course of things, and I do remember the story of how some of Nan's alters came about, and I remember the ones kind of, I think, in chronological order. If I screw any of these up, guys, tell me in the comments, because it's been a while since I've seen these videos and they've all been taken off the internet. But I believe the first alter was Risk, which was a cat. So Risk was a alter that came about and was very destructive. I remember certain situations that, you know, very like explicit graphic situations that I'm not going to get into that Nan would talk about, but basically he said like, hey, this is Risk acting up and it's dangerous, and like there's stuff going on. And I remember actually that Jeremy was very afraid of Risk and what Risk was capable of and that whole situation, but we'll get into that. I remember Kit was an alter that actually integrated later on. I think it was with AC. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details. But basically, there's a few alters that I want to talk about from early on and a few that I want to talk about from later on, and then I'll get into why this whole conversation's important and the implications of what it could mean for the recent development. So basically, those two alters came about, and then Nan was still Nan. Like, obviously Nan is there, and Jeremy is the primary protector who came about to protect Nan from Risk. And Nan at first wasn't really sure how to respond to Jeremy. So Jeremy would like do things or say things or talk to him about things from the inner world, and Nan wasn't really sure how to react to this alter. So it was just a little bit uncomfortable, and there was a struggle in the beginning. Like, for example, I think Nan used to smoke, and like Jeremy tried to get him to not smoke and not drink. Yeah, I do believe there was drinking involved and that sort of thing. And then Ace would partake. Ace was another alter. Ace was a sexual protector, and they would partake in various activities that Jeremy was not condoning, and they could, potentially have hurt the body in different ways. So, and there was Evan. Evan kind of came about to protect, like, basically to take care of Risk. So Evan was an alter developed a little bit later on, I think after Jeremy, Risk, Kit, and Nan were all in the picture. And then Evan came about, and it was like oh, there's this cat, I like him, I'm gonna like take care of him. And then Risk started to back off, and Evan was a 16-year-old, we'll get into the ages and stuff later, but Evan was a 16-year-old boy who took care of Risk and kind of helped Risk calm down. And he was, I forget what somebody let me know in the comments what type of alter Risk was, because I'm forgetting this detail and I haven't had enough caffeine to film this video. But basically what happened was Evan was taking care of Risk, and then eventually Evan and Risk integrated into Riven, and Riven was, so for those of you who don't know, integration happens when two alters become their own alter. So it's not like a combination of these two alters, it's a completely different alter that might share some of the same characteristics, some more than others, of each of these two alters. So basically what happened was Riven was a combination of Evan and Risk, and he retained some of Risk's more primal instincts. He used to like growl and act like a cat and that sort of a thing, but also some of the style that Evan had. Like Evan used to call himself, you know, the goth kid. And eventually what happened was Riven got into, this is kind of a sidebar, but Riven got into a relationship with Nin after Chloe and Nina integrated. Nina was Chloe's sexual alter, and she was very troubled. So Chloe and her integrated to create Nin, and Nin and Riven began a relationship. And this is where it gets a little TMI, and I'm going to keep some of this stuff out. But basically, Riven and Nin had a very public relationship. And there were other alters that came about. I do remember there was Nadia, and Nadia was a lot to handle. Nadia was a makeup artist. Nadia was trans. Nadia was a very interesting alter who did a lot of protecting of more hidden worlds within Nan's system. But I always thought Nadia was interesting. And I at one time I did want to learn a little bit more about Nadia. I found her videos intriguing, or not Nadia, goodness, not Nadia. Nadia is, God, my brain is screwed up. Chloe has an alter named Nadia, and then Nadine is Nan's alter that I found interesting. Now, Nadine used to be the same type of alter as Risk, which I still don't remember the name of, but Nadine was an interesting alter when she first started presenting herself in videos. There was a video where she did makeup and had very limited supplies, and then there was a video where she did some makeup later on, and it was very, very entertaining. A lot of people watched that, and it was just an interesting side of Nadine no one had seen before. So we got into that a little bit, and we got into a little bit of, you know, there was kind of this messy integration with Jeremy, and I'm not sure of the entire backstory of that. I've forgotten some of the parts, but basically Jeremy integrated with another alter, and that's when things started to kind of go downhill for the system as a whole, because Nan was still mourning the loss of Jeremy, and so was Riven. And I think it was at about that time things started to really go downhill, and I think at about that time there were some accusations that came out. There were some videos posted by the same channel, Granddad's Lounge, that posted things, you know, they were in the copyright spat with Nin, then Chloe. Well, they had a couple of videos about Dissociated System, and they had a couple of videos about Team Piñata System. I'm not sure what ones have been taken down, if any, but I do know Vangelina Skov did kind of cover some of that in her videos, so if you're interested, go check that out. And at one point, I also believe that Nin and Nan had a podcast called the Sanity podcast, where they would talk about different aspects of DID. They would answer questions, talk back and forth, and it was generally entertaining. But I believe after the integration of Jeremy and this other alter, there was a very rocky time for, you know, Nan's system as a whole, and then the accusations came out about the drawings. Now let's just get into the drawings and touch on it. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's obviously a very graphic incident, and then that will lead into what our discussion will conclude with today. But basically what happened was, it was later, you know, you put stuff on the internet, kids, and then you delete it, it's not gone forever. But There were drawings, I believe, on Reddit and Tumblr, but that might be the other story. But there were drawings that were explicit of different cartoon characters, some of them featuring sneezing, which Nan described as they like sneezing, and that's all I'm going to say about the sneezing part. But basically, those drawings came to surface, and this whole fallout happened because at the time they were engaged to Nin, and they were engaged to be married, and Nin found all this stuff out, and obviously, you know, people are on the internet and saying things about, oh no, like this person did, and then Nin is finding this all out potentially on the internet, and, you know, presumably calls off the engagement. They were going to get a visa so that Nan could go live with Nin. At one point, Nan had been able to like visit, and they would go on trips and stuff with each other, but they always had to come back to their own country. Nan lives in the United States, and Nin lives in, I believe, England somewhere. I'm not clear on the details, but basically they would be able to visit, and then they would have to be a long distance relationship. But what it boils sorry guys, what it boils down to is they were in a relationship. These accusations came out. Nin saw the accusations. Obviously this is very triggering given that she has littles, which are young alters, and this just, I can't imagine the horrific, you know, realization that Nan is doing these kinds of things. Nan put out a horrible apology and eventually deleted all their social media. I believe that Vangelina Skov did cover this in her video, but I just wanted to give a brief overview. And dissociated, took a break, came back, did a new posting style, did some different videos, then the copyright stuff came out. We're not going to get into that. What we're going to get into is the meat of what's important between the ages of some of Nan's alters, what I remember about the age of the body, and why those are interesting correlations with the accusations that have come up. So, Nan had an alter Evan who was 16 years old, an alter Kit who was 13 years old, an alter Riven, I'm not sure how old Riven was Risk because he was a cat, and Jeremy, who I believe was in his early 20s. However, there is a soundbite that I recall where Chloe is actually like seven years younger than Nan, and I believe at one point they may have, and this could be totally wrong, but they may have given the body's age to be about 30. So take that into perspective. Nan has younger alters, the body's age is presumably late 20s, close to 30, somewhere in there. Take that for what you may. And the accusations coming out are that Nan used to post things under, I think they called it Spoiler, on Reddit, where he was talking back and forth with a minor, and it got a little ugly. And now these accusations are just coming to surface, that this has been happening, that it's not appropriate, obviously, and this is the newest development. Now, what makes it interesting is the DID implication and the P word that rhymes with crocodile implication. So basically with DID, your body is a certain age, but your alters can present at different ages. That's why you have littles, that's why you have teenagers, that's why you can be a 40-year-old person but have an alter who's 16. That's, you know, this is what happens. And a lot of times, you know, it's totally, I should rephrase that. The body does this as a response to traumatic events. So that's kind of the biology of it, and that's just, we're not going to get into that today. But the 2 points that are being made are, is this actual P crocodile, or is this, you know, alters doing things that the body is not aware of? And I think what you get into a little bit further is, can that be used as an excuse? You know, does this system that has this history on the internet have DID? And even if they do have DID, is it to the degree of which they are able to do these things and have it be okay? It's just a very messed up, kind of dark situation, and I wanted to get into the ages because if say the body has an alter that's 16, or the body has an alter that's 13, or the body has, it's not that weird for a 16 or a 13-year-old to be talking to another 16 or 13-year-old. When it gets a little weird is if you have a body that's 30 years old, an alter who's 13 or 16 years old, talking to another 13 or 16-year-old, even though it's from a 30-year-old person's body. And then you have to look at system responsibility. So if there is a 16-year-old alter who does something, it's the entire body taking system responsibility upon what this alter has done. So for example, if I have a 15-year-old alter who really enjoys shopping and I run up the credit card, it's system responsibility. This is everybody's thing. They did this. We need to not do this in the future. So with that information, if an alter did anything that was, inappropriate or irresponsible, that would be system responsibility, and it's up to the system to, with the communication that it has, try to work on that behavior. So when you have a system that, and this is just in videos, when you have a system that has had, as many difficulties as Nan's system has had, they've been in different living situations. At one point they appeared to be homeless. It can get a little tricky with system communication, and I know they said that several times in their videos. So again, I'm just trying to present what I remember from videos for people to develop their own, opinions and ideas, and to make decisions based on how they feel about what happened. Because from what I understand, Nan had several subscribers. They were a big part of this community before these accusations did come out, and I want people to just educate themselves and make their own decisions about how they feel about the situation. I know I personally, if Team Piñata was still on the internet, I would no longer be able to support their content because I do not condone the pea crocodile behavior, and I don't think there's any excuse for it. And again, that's system responsibility. But this has been a lot longer video than my normal videos, so if you like, go ahead, give a thumbs up, leave comments below, let's have a discussion, and we will catch you guys next week. Bye!